Hey guys, I'm back. I told you I'd be doing another video. Yesterday, I did a video on some Lugers, some interesting Lugers. Actually, they're still here on the floor, waiting to get those loaded up. And right next to it is my next video. I don't know if you know what that contraption is. Well, stay tuned. That's what we call a teaser. I'm going to be going over that after this video. Today's video, I have some guns to show you that maybe they're oddballs, they're just unusual. We're going to learn something together about them. They all came from one collector, and he was very eclectic, a little bit of everything. So some people think size matters, and so in this case, I'm going to start with the smallest and go to the largest. So let's take a look. Okay, we'll start with this one because this one is the smallest, and then we'll work our way to the largest. Now, if you see the holster, you're going to say, okay, small caliber, 25 caliber. You see that little circular mark there? You'd say that is an FN Browning. But you would be right about the holster, but not about the gun. This is definitely a holster that once held a FN Browning, but it now holds an engraved Model 9. So these came in 25 caliber. I believe this is factory engraved. I've shown you a lot of engraved PPs and PPKs. This one, by the way, is not for sale. The person who had it decided he wanted to hold on to it. So you can see, again, this is not oak leaf and acorn, but it is a floral arrangement, and you can see the veins and all the little, you notice the detail here. Oh, the stippling. You know, the background of the engraving, you see that little stippling in the background. Also, this is a later model. These are Ivory Grips. It has the screw. Most of the Walther Model 9s and Model 8s that you see have the two tines. Here's a picture of what is normally there on the medallion. But then later they figured the tines, I have to tell you, are really a pain in the neck to take the grip off. But with the screw, it's very simple. So this is a later gun, later variation. There's the company logo, and again you can see the engraving here, blue engraved. Now let's take a look at the front, and under here, and the back strap. This is kind of cool here. The one thing I don't like about these, now the magazine is not engraved, but one thing I don't like, it's really hard to get. With gloves on, it's even harder, but push that back and then you need a little fingernail to pry that off. So if you're a female who just had her nails done, that was actually pretty easy with gloves on. But if you break a fingernail on it, you'll be swearing at your little lady gun. By the way, people get insulted when I call them lady guns. They did come with a purse, however. I think they were intended for both men and women, but I call it a lady gun sometimes. But if you're a collector, it's just absolutely beautiful. Comes in this holster, fits perfectly, but as I said, that's an FN Browning. Technically, the next size up would be the Walther PP. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Walther PPs I'm going to show you, all pretty interesting. But this is the technically part. But technically, this would be a smaller gun because this goes to a PPK. It is a party leader vinyl holster. Now, I've shown these before. I mentioned that they do crack very easily. We have one on the website right now. It has a pretty bad crack in it at the top. This one actually comes with a vinyl belt. You can see that here. The belt is in great shape. The holster not so much. But we've had that on the site for a little while. And this just came in from the current collector who sent me some stuff. He had this vinyl party leader holster, and we'll be offering this one. But technically, the PPK is a little bit smaller than the PP. And this is in as good a shape as I've seen. Now, you can take a hairdryer, warm that up a little bit, you'll be able to move it. But the way it is right now, you don't want to open or close it because it will crack. Very fragile. This was early vinyl, experimental at the time, and the experiment didn't work very well. They made only a few, so they're extremely rare, but they are real and they are spectacular. Okay, so this one I'm going to spend a little time taking apart because it's quite fascinating. I don't know that I've ever shown one on this channel before. Used to be that I would see a couple of these every year. This is a Persian contract Walther PP. Now, normally the Walther logo goes right across here. Here's a picture of the logo normally. I'm sure you're very familiar with those. But in this case, I believe this contract was 1938. It went to Persia. Now that's the country of Iran. But at the time, Persia tried to stay neutral during the war, but before the war, they were ordering war materials from Germany, and the Walther PP was one of the contracts that they ordered for their military or their police. I'm not sure which. You can see serial number is in Farsi, and then the writing is in Farsi. And right here, that symbol, the one symbol I know in Farsi, that's 9mm. So the gun comes in 9mm, and if we take a look at the magazine, it's kind of cool. It's got bottom release magazine. It is marked 9mm because this is just a standard 9mm magazine, but check out the back. There's a Farsi 9mm on the back. So this comes with it. Again, I used to see a couple of these every year. Now I just never see them. What they did is they put the logo on the other side. It's very different because it is under the ejection port. Now that's the serial number, the German serial number, where we can date the pistol. They were all 9mm. This contract was for several hundred guns. They're all come in 9mm. They all have bottom release magazine, and they have the Farsi writing. Now, just to dissect this even more, let me take off the slide and show you something interesting on this gun. Okay, I took the slide off, and what you'll notice, the ejection port, again, here's a standard, well, every other Walther PP or PPK, you'll see either the crown end in the ejection port or the eagle end in the ejection port, and then also on the slide. So you see the proof marks on the slide and the ejection port, but in this case, they moved the logo, as we can see, to the right-hand side, and there is no proof. And that's because of all things, I don't know who came up with this, but down inside there, over here, you can see the crown N, and over here, you can see the 9mm marking. So let's look at the crown N first. Don't know how well you can see that, but there's the crown N, and then right next to it, you can see the 9mm. One other factory variation here is on the opposite side of the ejection port, you see the crown N again, and then the 9mm again. But when the slide is on, like that, you're not going to see either one. So my point is that everything about this contract was completely different, and it was for the Persian contract ordered by the Shah in about 1938. Okay, just one more thing. I'm feeling more and more like Ian on this video because it's getting into the weeds a little bit, but here's the standard hold open for a 7.65, and also the 22 caliber has a similar hold open. When the magazine is in, which the magazine is in right now, take the magazine out, the hold open goes down, put the magazine in, and it pops up, and that's what holds the slide open. But on the 9mm, see this part? It's reinforced. They found that the strength of the 9mm bullets would actually cause damage to the frame when it was a push button. This is not a push button. We'll do that next. When it's a push button, it caused stress to the frame, so they did the bottom release, but they also found that the hold open had to be reinforced. And so you'll see those on only the 9mm, and the hold open, when the magazine goes up, the hold open pops up. But that was added to the 9mm. There are some that are not like that. The really early ones are not like that, and they found that they were problematic, so they reinforced them later. So again, more detail than maybe you needed to hear, but just an interesting variation for sure. All right, next, I already teased you with this a little bit because I said the 9mm did not have the push-button magazine. Here's what they all look like, both PPs and PPKs. They have the push-button magazine, which I prefer. Isn't that great? Just why can't life be simple like that? But here we see a bottom release magazine, but yet it is 7.65. So what the heck is it? That might make you scratch your head a little bit, and it made all of us scratch our heads. I've actually seen 2 or 3 of these. They come, it's a variation that you will see in both PPK and Walther PP. So here's the solution to this mystery. If you look at the serial number, right around this serial number are PDM PPs, and the same is true of PDM PPKs. Right at the end of the run, there are some 7.65, which are bottom release, and it also has some other features that I'll show you. So the conclusion is the Police Department of Munich, PDM, they ordered guns for the police department. So they ordered several hundred at a time. They had an overrun, and so they used up the ones that they needed for the contract, and the leftovers, they said, what do we do with these? Because these are in bottom release, and they released them to the public. So this was sold in the commercial market, but it falls in the serial range of a PDM PP. And again, you'll see the same thing. I don't have one now, but you'll see the same thing with a PDM PPK, where they had an overrun, and it's bottom release, 7.65, and the other feature of the PDMs is the fact that they had a fluted barrel. Fluted barrel was added for strength, and that was asked, it was requested by the police department. Here's what every other barrel looked like, non-fluted and fluted. So both the PP and the PPK had the fluted barrel. The PPKs had a Dural frame. There's a picture of one, but the PDM had a Dural frame, and the overruns also came with a Dural frame. So it's just a very rare variation, probably most of you have never heard of, but I think it's exceptionally cool. This was made, I think this contract was about 1935 from the serial number, and you also see the 90-degree safety versus the 60-degree safety. Now that leads us to this gun, so let's do this next. Now we have talked about this variation before. It's got a beautiful finish in really good shape. It's a shame, but it's got some little peppering there. Usually whenever there's peppering on a gun or a slide, they'll say that's blood splatter. I don't know if any of that's true. All I know is that at some point something corrosive splattered against it. And you might see this, some of you are getting rather excited right now because you see an early gun. Serial number is here, this is about 1940, and you see the number on the slide and you think, oh my gosh, this is an SS gun. And you would be wrong, because if you read my book, it says there are some guns that kind of mimic the SS guns. Here's a picture of an SSPP, and you can see the numbering on the slide is actually roll stamped, and it's done in the factory. You can see right away that this is a completely different font, and in fact was done at an arsenal. The police arsenal would do this. In this case, it's a railway gun. And one of the clues is the railway guns are often dated 1940. They did number the slides, but again, this was done in the arsenal, not in the factory. And you can see, if I didn't have my gloves on, one way you can tell is on an SS gun, just like this, it's perfectly smooth. And the SS guns, it would be perfectly smooth. But on this, you can feel the raised metal because the metal was hardened. It was sent to the arsenal. They stamped that in really hard, and it makes an indentation in the metal. Same is true for the 1940. That was added later. I can even feel it through my gloves that that's raised the metal. And then finally, they would number the magazines. They came with 2 matching magazines. And again, this was done at the arsenal. So the font on the magazine should mirror the font that's on the slide. And it does. Even look at the flag on the top of the ones. It's very unique versus the flag on the top of that one. So this is a factory stamp. This is a non-factory stamp, but nonetheless, a very rare variation. And again, I did a video on the railway guns, and this comes with this black Aka holster. There's the Aka mark. It's kind of worn away a little bit. This is dated 1939. The gun was dated, obviously, 1940. This is stamped RBD, Reichsbahn, and I believe that's Directorate, Stuttgart. So it's basically railway police or railway guards. This would be from Stuttgart, Germany, 1939, and this is the gun that goes with it. So again, just a very cool gun to get as part of this collection. Now I've got one more PP to show you. Okay, so this gun obviously is a satin nickel. The Germans would call it a verkrampft finish. And it's also extremely early. Now, I'm going to show you some early features. Let's start with this side. You'll notice the grips right away are the same color as a PPK grip, and in fact, this was special order for the Verkrampft guns. Also, an early feature, well, let's start with the serial number because that's the most important part. This is from 1940. You can see the serial number. But here you can see the serial number is reversed. So just the first several thousand will have this reversed serial number. So let's turn it around so we can see what we're looking at. And if you watch my videos, you know they started at 750,000. So this is about 2,500 into the production. So very, very early. Reverse serial number, that's one early feature. Another early feature is the proof marks are here and here. And soon thereafter, the proof marks are typically found here and here. So early feature would be the proof marks are different. If this was blued, the slide would be blued, and here you see the slide is not blued, but they did blue. In this case, they used the verchromt or satin nickel finish. This, again, I've already said is highly unusual. And then this is an early PPK bottom on a PP magazine. This is very hard to pull. I've tried several magazines in here, by the way. Very stiff, so that's not a good fit, and I'm not sure why. But I tried several magazines, and they're all the same. So this is just an early, looks like a nickeled magazine. But here's the other early features. It has a fat safety. You can see it right away when you compare. This is the typical safety. This is the fat safety. Of course, it's 90-degree safety. Not only does it have a fat safety, but it has a heavy hammer. See the hammer? This is the normal hammer. That's the heavy hammer. It's just heavier. Smaller circle there. And then finally, very almost unnoticeable, is the extended barrel. There's the typical barrel just comes out a little bit. The early guns have an extended barrel. So this is an early gun with very early features. It was made in 1929, only about 2,500 guns into the production, in excellent condition. So I'm glad to get this one along with these other guns in the same collection. Okay, in terms of size, this one is next, and you probably noticed right away this is a Femeru from the German World War II era. It has to be either numbered 41 or 43, and we take it out, and sure enough, it is JHV, which is the factory code for the Femeru, and 43 is the year. There was 30,000 ordered for the Luftwaffe. That has been documented, so these all went to the Luftwaffe. 30,000 were made in 41, and 30,000 were made in 43. They actually ordered 60,000, but they only filled half of the order as the war was going poorly against them, and this is from Hungary. And they were taken by the Russians fairly early on, so they never finished the production. This is in near mint condition, and the holster itself is also in almost unissued condition. You see that it is a model pistol, model 37. That was the German designation was that it was a model 37. Also that it came in caliber 7.65. If you look at the back, that is the Luftwaffe proof. So factory code 1942, Luftwaffe. This is so minty that I don't even like to close it because it is in unissued condition. Probably was never even put with a gun, but captured after the war and then put together. So I don't keep often I keep them closed, but I don't even do that because I don't want to hurt the leather, so I just leave it like this. And it does come with 2 matching magazines. Now, I have to let you know that I'm a little bit selfish in that I don't think I can let this thing go. The magazines are numbered under here. I'll call it in the crotch of the finger extension. Probably not a good term, but it works for me. Magazines are very crudely numbered here and here, and that is 2 matching magazines. 2 matching magazines, and again, you see the model 37. Now, the Hungarians did make their own military pistols, and this slide legend looks much different. So when you find them, when they're Hungarian made, they sell for a lot cheaper than the ones that were made during the Nazi period, the Third Reich. They do have Waffen stamps here, and there's also markings on the barrel. These are 7.65. There's the barrel marking and the test proof. You see that eagle with a swastika, test proof. These are really easy to take apart. Great guns, fun to shoot, work like a small version of a 1911 or like a 1903 hammerless. Okay, next in size are 2 P38s. Now we're talking about 9mm. So these are 2 examples that are noteworthy. This first one actually came last. This is actually probably made in 1944. It was made in the Mauser factory, but you see the AC code. I've done videos on this before. This is an AC 43, which is a rare variation. It means that the slide was made in the FN factory in Belgium. It was shipped to the Mauser factory in Germany. Belgium, the FN factory did just that slide legend, and they used a different size AC, and then this serial number was put on in the Mauser factory. This is a dual tone, so you see blue and phosphated finish. Has the later war black plastic grips. But what I wanted to show you was this asterisk. That's bigger than most, but I get people who ask me the question. Sometimes you'll see an asterisk on this part of the frame. Sometimes you see them on the slide. Sometimes you see them on the barrel. Sometimes you see them on the locking block. So what's the meaning of the asterisk? Well, that means that this was issued to Hitler's bodyguards. No, nothing that glamorous. People like it when I give them an answer like that. But all that is a rejection star. So this went through the factory one time, was rejected by the inspector. It went back a second time and was then approved. So whatever was wrong, and usually it's just the tolerances were too tight or too loose, and so they had to shave it a little bit here or adjust it or refit it a little bit. It's not a big deal, but some collectors really like it, and some people don't like it because they say, oh, this is flawed. No, it went back through a second time. Whatever was wrong with it was fixed, and then the inspector stamped it. You can see the front straps are really nice, just a little bit of corrosion. Also, even that is phosphated. In this case, it comes with a Mauser magazine, which is correct, Waffen 135. So the asterisk is what is unusual and sometimes desirable. This last one is one of the rarest of all of the P38s. Some of you are looking at it and you already realize this is an AC no date. I'm doing this off of the top of my head, but I'm thinking there's only about 5,000 of these made. Oh wait, here's the number 8,000. So probably about 10,000 of these are made between 1 and under 10,000. So they only made them for about a month because they realized they wanted a date, so AC became AC 40. You can see here they have an AC 40 added where they made the slide AC and then they added the 40. But the bottom line is they only made these for about a month. Now the reason I wanted to show you this gun is because it's important to have young people around you when you're my age. I can see that there's something wrong with this finish. This looks like patina through here. There's just a funny look to that finish. Here that looks like a lot of patina. And even on the slide, there's something going on there, a little funky. And so my first concern is that this gun has had cold blue put all over it. And the reason I have youngins here is, well, Randy, you tell me, can you smell cold blue? Check it out. And then you go. Yeah. Okay, that was him. Yeah, Randy. The younger guys can actually smell. Now, I don't know if it's a remnant of COVID or old age, but I don't smell anything. I do smell these, and I smell absolutely nothing, but every guy here can tell me they can smell the cold blue on this gun. So they do have chemicals or rags that will remove the cold blue. That scares me too much. I don't want to mess with it. It's a shame that somebody cold blued it. I wish they had left it alone, but it's not everywhere. Like this barrel, this looks original here. But definitely something was done here. Again, I could remove all of that, but I think the best thing, there's a lot right here. Best thing to do is leave it alone and just let people know that it's a very rare AC no date. And by the way, this is maybe the best for last. It has a matching magazine. So again, it's a shame somebody put cold blue on it. If you're handier than me, maybe you want to try to remove it, or somebody who restores guns might want to mess with it. I'm just leaving it alone, but it is a matching mag AC no date, a very rare gun and a very valuable gun, particularly if the finish was not messed with at all. Okay, talk about eclectic. Not only did he have all these guns, but this is a Colt Dragoon. I already did a video on this. You can check it out. I'm not going to say much about it other than this thing is heavy. It's a really heavy gun, and the kick on this thing must kick like a mule. I don't know a whole lot about them. A couple parts have been replaced. Like, so for example, you can see here that the barrel wedge is in good condition, so that has been replaced, and maybe a screw or two. But this This person was very eclectic, and in that they have a percussion pistol from the Civil War era, and we did a whole video just on this. But when size matters, this thing is huge. If the mechanism doesn't work, you can always club somebody with it. Okay, here's the final gun, and again, going to size, here it is, a Vickers water-cooled machine gun from World War I era. The caliber is .303, and this is in semi-automatic, so it has been converted to semi-automatic, which means you can probably own this gun. But this thing is huge, it's very heavy. It came in the door today. It was not part of this collection, but I was getting ready to do the video, and guess what? This did not walk in the door. We had to go out the door and take it out of the trunk of his car and carry it in. So we put it all together. Here's some pictures for you. This will be going up on the website. But again, a semi-automatic Vickers machine gun, World War I era. Check it out. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget, I have another video coming up really soon on a very rare gun that's on my floor over here. And if you like what you saw, if you learned something today, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, because we've got a lot more to send your way.